Welcome back. Former President Trump and Vice President Harris are making their final pitches to voters today with just one day until Election Day. Trump is holding campaign rallies in North Carolina, in Pennsylvania, and Michigan, while Harris is focusing on Pennsylvania on her last day on the campaign trail. Both candidates campaigning in key battleground states over the weekend. In North Carolina, Trump warned about the economy under a potential Harris presidency. Watch this.
If Kamala wins, you are 3 days away from the start of a 1929-style economic depression. I believe that. You know, we have a lot of great analysts. Scott Bessent is one. He's one of the smartest guys on Wall Street. If I win, you are 3 days away from the best jobs, the biggest paychecks, the brightest economic future that the world has ever seen.
And joining me right now is the man himself, who Trump just mentioned, former Soros Fund Management Chief Investment Officer. He is Key Square Capital Management CEO and founder, and Trump donor and advisor, Scott Bessent. Scott, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning, Maria.
Were you watching when Trump mentioned your name there?
I saw the replay, and
Okay.
you know, I'm always honored when I get the shout out from the president.
Yeah, exactly. Nice shout out. Okay, so he said that you're going to see a real depression if Kamala Harris gets in. Do you agree with that? And if so, why specifically?
Maria, I think a couple of things. I understand exactly what the president's saying here. You and I can remember in 1992, it was famously, it's the economy's stupid, and it was recession, recession, recession when George H.W. Bush was running, and then Bill Clinton won, and miraculously, the recession ended. You know, the New York Times declared the recession ended 2 weeks later. I think that we are in the inverse of that the economy is really in a precarious position here. We saw this with this terrible jobs number. And, you know, forget the devastation from the hurricane and the turmoil that that's caused. You know, the revisions, you know, there are 81,000 jobs revised downward in August. We saw further revisions in September. So, you know, we saw almost 100,000 jobs revisions. And, you know, I think probably the media has been covering up a bit here, and we will immediately go into the, you know, the economy is bad. The Fed needs to cut. We need more big government spending, you know, from a potential Harris administration.
Well, that's what I want to get to, specifics on why Kamala Harris is on the wrong track when it comes to economic growth. I mean, one issue we talk about all the time is regulation. And I know that President Trump has said many times that deregulation is a beautiful thing. He cut the red tape. He wants to continue cutting red tape. Is that enough to say her rules and regulations are going to put companies at a disadvantage, perhaps put growth on the back burner? President Trump is talking all about the trajectory of growth. So what specific policies do you worry about from the Kamala Harris team? Is it regulation? Is it higher taxes? What's your story in terms of what's so significant that's going to impact us that way to lead to a recession or depression even?
Well, Maria, over the past couple of weeks, I've been in public forums and I've debated some of Vice President Harris's economic spokespeople, and I tell you, it's not a fair fight because they're fighting with one hand behind their back, and you know, their pitch, especially to Wall Street people, is, oh, well, don't worry about the vice president's policies because the Republicans are going to win the Senate. What kind of pitch is that? Oh, she will be constrained by a Republican Senate, whereas 99% of the people who are voting for President Trump want the Republican trifecta. We want to see, you know, deregulation. Harris-Biden have put in a record amount in the past year into the Federal Register of regulations.
Right.
Her tax plan, especially this tax on unrealized capital gains, is a doomsday machine. And most of all, this spending is something we have never seen before. Never seen before. 7% deficit to GDP when we're not in a recession, not in a war. And what do we have to show for it? We got 18,000 manufacturing jobs. Over the 4 years, we got 250,000 private sector jobs, and it looks like that machine is sputtering. And Maria, most of all, under Biden and Harris, only the big win and only the upper end wins. The top 20% of individuals and households have never done better. The bottom 50% is getting killed. The biggest corporations are doing well, and the National Association of Small Business numbers are dismal.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of information there. Thank you for that. Can the Fed rescue us out of this? I mean, the Federal Reserve is kicking off its two-day monetary policy meeting this Wednesday. This is it. This is the November meeting. Chairman Jay Powell spoke about it coming, and he's going to speak on Thursday when the meeting is up. We'll see if on Thursday he is talking about a cut in interest rates. The futures market is fully pricing in a 25 basis point cut after the presidential election. Scott, is that where you are here? Do you expect rates to come down after the election further?
Well, look, they blocked themselves into this rate cut. They did this inappropriate jumbo rate cut in September. Maybe they knew something we didn't know about the state of the economy. But they cut rates, but the 10-year bond is up the most in 2 years. We've had a 70 basis point increase in rates, and the 10-year is what affects most financing decisions. It affects mortgage rates. So we'll see what happens if they cut 25 here. Maybe the long end of the market goes up even more. The only thing that's going to pull the long end down is the oppressive, depressive effect of a Kamala Harris presidency.
Yeah. Job growth slowed considerably last month. You just mentioned the horrible jobs numbers that we got on Friday. The Labor Department reporting that only 12,000 jobs were added to the economy in the month of October. The expectation was 113,000. Scott, I know that there was a lot of noise in the month of October. There were, 2 hurricanes. There was a Boeing strike, which, by the way, their machinists are going to vote on another offer today. But still, this was wildly lower than expectations. Your thoughts on the jobs number, how it may impact the election as well?
Well, I think that we're seeing the preview. And at the end of the day, Maria, you and I have talked about the bifurcated economy before. And it's not the number that's going to affect the election. It's the way the American people are feeling. The American people, we've had an affordability crisis. The American people, they can't afford groceries. 2 out of 5 credit cards in America are maxed out. And I had a conversation with President Trump yesterday. I'm going to join him on the campaign trail today. And I said, sir, I'm looking forward to you winning with a Republican sweep, and we could have a new golden age in America with deregulation, low-cost energy, low taxes, and most of all, we can get our confidence back.
Yeah. Are you expecting to be part of the cabinet, Scott?
Yeah, I will do whatever President Trump wants me to do. If he says, Scott, you're better on the outside, please call me once a week, tell me how you think my team's doing. If he says, Scott, I'm into the Ukraine war, would you go back over and help them rebuild their economy? I'll do whatever he wants.
Wow.
This is his to decide, and no one has taken as much the shrapnel, literal shrapnel, and worked as hard. This is the greatest comeback story in history. Yeah. And, I trust him to do what's best for the country.
So, Scott, real quick, if you are a member of the economic team there in President Trump's cabinet, what would be your number one or first priority in January?
Well, Maria, whether I'm on the inside or the outside, the extending or making permanent the Tax Cuts and Job Act is the priority. Yeah, because if it doesn't happen, this will be the largest tax increase in U.S. history. And, I think we're going to unleash animal spirits when President Trump and the Republicans win tomorrow. Then we've got to make this permanent, and we'll give the business and households the confidence to really get on a glide path, into the next 4 years.
All right. Well, that would be nice. Scott, great to see you. Thanks so much. We'll be watching all of that.